sweet, kiss our little. Now for go alone, yeah. Sweet, kiss our little. Now for go along. You take it from Peter today, Paul will take it from you tomorrow, mama. Sweet, living is sweet, oh. Whether rich or poor. Boy, don't pray for long fellow. He can pray for long life. As long as they live, you know, the better we grow. Fine, power is fine, oh. It can make you heavy. It's just like a brook, you know. Equator capsize. Sweet, kiss our liver. Not for go alone. You might be can eat it. Or a picture can eat it. Kiss our liver. Kiss our liver. Oh, sweet kiss our liver. Not for go alone. You take it from Peter today. Oh, Paul will take it from you tomorrow, mama. You check it from me right today, oh mother will check it from you tomorrow. Fine, oh fine, may your feel. But people do to you, you have to cry. Had enough for one person, oh, it's a matter of time. After is a lesson, yeah, rather this I had. Sweet kiss our liver, not for go alone, mama. Human being can eat it, oh, the deer can eat it. Go our liver. Sweet is our liver, not for go alone. Human beings can eat it, or a creature eat it too. Sweet, living is sweet, oh.
Hello and welcome to a radio TV, and tonight promised to be another interesting night. We have in studio some presidential aspirants, and they're going to be telling us exactly why they want to run for president, what are the challenges they are trying to solve, and many, many more. And so tonight, your host will be Mr. James Jensen. I'm just standing in for just a little bit. And also, we will be expecting another presidential aspirant. So stay tuned. If you are just joining us, we want to say welcome to a Radio TV, wherever you are. Share the broadcast and be ready to make all your comments. And we welcome all the questions. And at the appropriate time, we're going to be able to read some of them. Nevertheless, if we don't read them, just keep bringing them, we welcome them. Thank you so much for joining us. And tonight, we have also our co-host, Mr. Josh Noble. We want to say welcome, Mr. Noble.
Thank you.
And we're going to give our aspirant just a few minutes so they can introduce themselves. But first, I want to start with our co-host, Mr. Josh Noble. Mr. Noble?
Well, George Numbo, I'm very happy to be here with uh, two or three of people from from whom one of them will be president of Liberia. So I'm kind of honored. Thank you, and you are welcome.
Oh, well, we want to say thank you again to our viewers out there, and I'm going to leave you with Mr. Jensen. Welcome, Mr. Jensen.
Okay, thank you so much, and sorry for that little interruption. And we we continue with the introduction, and I guess Mr. Nomo just started the introductory comments. So, Chuchu,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, thank you again to 2A Radio. I think this is one of the media out there that is doing the right thing to bring the discussion uh, for the people in a fair and balanced way, and that's important in any democracy. My name is Chuchu Alex Jones. I'm a Liberian, and I come from the Grand Bassa region. I'm aspiring for this office simply because I believe that change needs to come, and it cannot come from the people who caused the problem, the people who, for many years in our society, have held government positions. And today we are the seventh poorest nation. We are indebted. We do not have basic functioning services in the country, and they're running around again to come back into office. So this is the essence. More people need to participate. People with fresh minds, and people to bring something to the table. And I believe that I bring a lot to the table in terms of how we can grow our economy, how we can make it more equitable for everyone, not just those in government, the people, so to speak, but that the ordinary young men and women can be a part of this system. A part of our constitution says that we should have broad participation. Today, the average age in government is over 55, whereby the average age in Liberia is 19 years old. So there's a big disparity. So it's not that the young people are not ready or they are not capable or they are not educated, but the system has long suppressed them, going all the way back many eras. So it's time for the young people to step up. No one is going to give us this. No one is going to invite us and tell us come to the table. We have to come, and if possible, we have to fight them and we have to win. Thank you very much.
Okay, Dr. Gopo.
Thank you, Attorney Jensen. Thank you for this opportunity to be here with some distinguished Liberians, including the co-host, Mr. Numbo, and Alex Jones. My name is George Gunpool. I am an economist. I come to this desire to serve the Liberian society as president and to express my view and to give some perspective on why I would like to express my candidacy for the presidency. Mainly because my engagement with the Liberian people and my own upbringing in Liberia and my experiences in Liberia has led me to the conclusion that our people have been suppressed enough, and there have been so much struggles in Liberia. And I come from the background of the struggle. I was born in Nimba County, and to a family that were farmers, and my father was a government worker. And for a very long period of time, struggled to support his family. He served as an assistant in the county leadership, and really had to work more than one job just to keep bread on the table. And even after he retired from government, there was no opportunity for a decent retirement. And so for me, it was a struggle rising from basically selling bread in the streets to high school graduation to college to coming to the United States for master's and doctorate degrees in a struggle. And I come to this desire to serve simply to change the Liberian system so that it can work for the ordinary person. The problem of inequality and the divide in our society, where those who have power control and enjoy most of the resources, and those who do not have power tend to be marginalized, and the poverty rate in our society continues to grow, the hardship continues to grow. When we look across the landscape, health, education, joblessness continue to affect our society. Even Liberia standing regionally, globally, continue to be one of the worst. And so I come with the desire to serve in the presidency in order to bring solutions to the problems affecting our people. My desire is to be a servant leader. My desire is to be a solution-oriented leader. And I'm glad to be here tonight for a discussion that surrounds the future of Liberia and the current situation. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much. And once again, it's a pleasure to have each and every one of you here. We are interested in seeing the nation Liberia being on track when it comes to development, when it comes to bettering the lives of Liberians. So we at 2A Radio, we are interested in hearing from all of those who want to be president of Liberia. Now, to start with, knowing why you want to be president, I would want to know, and I'm sure Liberians want to know, whether in the first place, how do you see Liberia, the current state of affairs? Just give us a little summary of how you see Liberia. Right now, George Weah is president, so we cannot discuss without taking his name into consideration. How do you look at the current state of affairs? We'll start with you, Chuchu.
Well, I would like to take another approach to how I see Liberia. I see Liberia as a land of hope. I see Liberia as a beautiful country with diverse culture, with beautiful landscapes and beaches, and a vibrant young society that could take on the world. I see the hopes and dreams of the Liberian people, despite the government not providing any assistance, any subsidies, have been able to make do, some selling business after businesses all across our country. As a young man growing up in Liberia, I too was a small businessman, and I had to struggle and make ends meet, and I made it, and many are in some form or the other. So I don't think all is lost in Liberia. Obviously, the last few years since the war, we've been inundated with bad leaders, period. We've had leadership in Liberia that one was not adequate in terms of running the economy, in terms of foreign policy, informed in the sense of security. Most people think security just means military or police, but there are things like food security, social security, and all the things that make improve the human being and to make a society functioning. All those things, basic things, were lacking because we've had leadership that had concentrated leadership. People who come into government simply because maybe they have a master's degree in political science and they went back home. They have little experience. They have little insight on how you transform a nation into the modern century or into providing economic well-being. So I think that's our biggest problem, that our selection of leadership
Okay.
has been the problem.
Okay, thank you so much. Mr. Gopo, Dr. Gopo, sorry for that. Dr. Gopo, how do you, microscope the country Liberia? How do you look at Liberia? You want to be president of Liberia, how do you look at that country, the state of affairs?
Well, I think Liberia is a country with great potentials. Liberia is naturally beautiful. It has a great location, the Atlantic Ocean right there. And then we have excellent vegetation for growing crops. We have lots of waterway. So naturally, Liberia is endowed with resources. We have very young population. So basically, Liberia has great potential, but the current state of Liberia is not strong. Liberia, because of this leadership problem, leadership deficit, which translate into the lack of investment, the lack of delivery on promises, the problem of division, the problem of discrimination, the problem of nepotism, corruption, challenges Liberia. So Liberia is a land with great potentials, but currently has so many challenges. And those challenges can be solved. It can be solved with competent leadership, a leadership that is capable of not only waiting to be in office before it understands the issue and the problems, but leadership that understands the country's history, where the country has come from, that understands that the problem of Liberia did not start with the 1980 coup, neither did it start with the Civil War, that those things were basically an effect of a failed system, of a system that started on the wrong track, maybe with good intentions, but when it came to implementation, it went on so many wrong tracks. And those crises in our history, in my view, were really the effect of a failed system.
Okay.
That's
Okay. Thank you so much for that introduction. And before I get to you, Mr. Numbo, to continue to probably ask one or two questions, Dr. Popo, you cannot be a president until you are elected. Same with Mr. Alex Jones. Now, the Constitution of Liberia set a criteria. Now, someone will say that's a cliche. No, it's not a cliche. This is a very significant aspect to qualify someone to becoming president of Liberia, making reference to the age consideration, talking about the level stay to be domiciled in Liberia for about 10 years prior to elections, talking about the property value worth of $35,000. Are you qualified? Do you meet those criteria? And I would want to start with you, Dr. Gopo.
Yes, I meet those criteria. The real estate in terms of asset, I have more than the minimum.
Okay.
The residency requirement, I meet that as well, because although I am employed outside of Liberia, but I have been quite engaged with Liberia so that I'm in Liberia for a significant period of time every year. My employment is quite flexible in terms of time, and I think my service to Liberia in terms of helping to support families and helping to encourage people to work outside of Liberia, I think it's a good thing. And it should not really be discouraged. I think the intent of the Constitution is not to discourage employment. There are a large number of people in Liberia today who are jobless. And that is basically just stressing this nation. It is also contributing to the problem of crime in the society. So if we're going to make Liberia prosperous, I think Liberians should be equipped as human capital wise to not only work in Liberia, but they should also work outside of Liberia, because the more citizens work outside the country and invest those wealth in the country, that contributes to the progress of this nation. So most Liberians are looking really for citizens who will bring wealth to the country, and not just people who would just be there claiming to be on the ground and contributing almost nothing and basically sucking up the little resources that the country has. So real estate asset wise, I have more than adequate. Residency wise, I also meet the criteria. Age wise, I do meet the criteria.
Okay.
And yes.
Okay. Mr. Tutu Alex Jones, we want to ask the same question.
Well, I like this question because there's some kind of hypocrisy in Liberia. The very constitution talk about you cannot bring war in your country, but today we have people like Prince Johnson serving in government. And nobody, and no journalists, and no media, and not even election commission were raised. We got George Bulley. People indicted on the war crimes code. So I'm not making this up because the next question will be, where's the evidence? So how can anybody ask any other person who's participating in the election about qualification when the number one qualification, these people literally committed treason according to our laws? So are we going to suspend the Constitution and allow Prince Johnson to come in and then say Alex Jones cannot come in?
Mr. Jones, if I may just call you to a point, the Constitution of Liberia, in parts and in whole, are to be respected by everyone. The issue we have, or the question that I'm asking, is very specific as to those criteria that James Jensen, assuming I wanted to be president, I would have been asking myself these questions in the first place. Am I the natural born citizen of Liberia? Do I have a property value of over $35,000? Have I been domiciled in the country for more than 10 years? So this is specific. We know that anyone who carry war in our country, some of us regret why these people are serving in government. But does that give any impetus for anyone else to be in violation of the Constitution? No.
I want the whole entire Constitution to be respected.
Yeah, the Constitution to be respected.
I want it to be
specifically, I hope we all get on course. Time is not in our favor.
No, but I want to do court process. I have to answer. You asked me a question that I have to address.
Right.
First answer to that question is yes, I do believe I meet the constitutional requirement, all of it, to participate. Okay. The second to that question is, I want the Constitution to be respected, not partially or not in a segregated manner, but I want it to be respected across the board. Either we adopt the whole entire Constitution, or we can cherry pick one aspect of it.
Okay. We will come to that. We are glad to hear that you are qualified. I mean, you meet the criteria set in the Constitution of Liberia. But before I continue, Mr. Noble, do you have any introductory questions or questions that you have for our aspirants?
Well, I want to start with that Gumpo. His resume is very impressive, and when it comes to the struggle, he was part of it. But we are confronting a new struggle, a struggle to replace George Weah. He is from Nimba County. Chiawon Gonglo is the LPP candidate from Nimba County. And Dr. Gompu is independent candidate from Nimba County. And the picture that presents to me is that both of them are paving the way for the second most populated county in the nation to give George Weah the election. Why he and Tiawon Gonglo cannot go to some gangba table and talk.
Okay.
And say, my brother, you go, and my brother, you stay, So okay. That's my question, Dr. Gompu.
Dr. Gompu.
That's a good question. In fact, I just had an interview yesterday with the elders of Nimba County. I think about 10 people on that interview from all of the ethnic group, represent all the ethnic groups. And I think a number of the question was just centered around what you have just referenced. I happen to be a person who was born in Nimba, but I am not running, and my interest in the presidency is not driven by being a Nimba candidate. My interest in the leadership of the country is driven by my patriotism, love of country, and seeing my beloved country struggle with problems that I believe I can solve, with problems that I've spent so much of my career learning how to solve. And so I come offering myself to serve, and without regard to my ethnicity or where I come from. Clearly, I know of other candidates in the race, including Tiawon that you referred to. He's not the only Nimba in the race.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. There are two other candidates who have, expressed their interests. One participated in the election in 2017, and he is still said to be running again. And also having some background in statistics, I'm not too surprised to see multiple candidates out of Nimba, because Nimba represent at least 20% of the voting population. And so if there are 20 candidates in the race, and you say, well, 20% of the entire candidacy, you expect to see at least 4 or 5 if you do the math. Across the board. So I'm not too surprised to see a number of more than one NIMBA candidate. But the advice is well taken. The elders have presented a similar advice that we should engage one another, compare vision, and see whether there could be a consensus where one could, some people will decide that, they could wait. But the thing is, the way I look at it, this is not a personal thing. This is really not a personal thing. We need to have Liberia be a better country. We need our people and ourselves need prosperity and pride and dignity for Liberia. And whatever way we can do to make that happen, irrespective of personality, we should do that.
Okay. Mr. Nomo, do you have any question for Mr. Jones?
Oh, yes, I do.
Okay.
Mr. Jones said he comes from the Basso region. The last time I checked, we had River Cess, Grand Basso, Magibi, and Masurado. So I want for just a minute. We give myself some power.
Okay.
I want for he did not specify that. I want for him to clarify. And besides that, Dr. Gompu explained, to give us a notion of his educational background. Mr. Jones did not do that. And the domicile issue, the age domicile issue that you talk about that is in the Constitution, he just browsed through it. So I want for Mr. Jones to come back and clarify that.
Okay, before Mr. Jones will start, I want you to kindly lift your seat upward so that, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so
it's not okay. Good.
Mm-hmm. So thank you.
Yeah.
And the reason why I didn't go into my educational background is because anyone who's familiar with me will understand that I'm an academic. I've published several articles in Liberia. I've published on nearly every Liberian newspaper, including your own. And I profile my educational background, which I do have degrees in engineering, civil engineering, finance, business, and banking.
Where you got the degree from?
Well, I graduated from Franklin University in Columbus, Ohio.
Franklin University does not offer engineering.
Well, that engineering is not the only degree that I have.
No, you say you have civil engineering, and Franklin University does not offer civil engineering.
That is correct. Like I said, you asked me to list my profile.
Okay. Where you got your civil engineering degree
from? Columbus State Community College, which does offer civil engineering degree.
When was that?
Long time ago, about 97, I came.
Okay.
Resume online. You can go to my Facebook page and you'll see all my credentials. So I don't think that is Mr.
Number, we can fact check any information we get.
So I'm well educated. So I don't. Besides that, I don't think it is the issue. So I don't think we've had PhD presidents in Liberia. The current president of Liberia has a master's degree in health education, and look at the health system in Liberia. So I don't think that's an area of major concern.
Mr. Jones.
Yes.
You're running for president. talking like that about education. You sound like George Weah when he went to, I think, Tapita. That the educated people are the people that put us in trouble. Tapita.
Okay.
And the same Tapita, the hospital, the Chinese people built there, the George Weah sent his people there to loot the equipment in our hospital. So no, you are sounding like George. You are sounding like George. We are putting down education.
I think you're misconstruing me. Okay. What I said, all right, was that I'm not capitalizing on my educational credential because I don't think it's what will make a better president, because we have had academics, we have had PhD. But I am educated and I do believe in education. That's why I have multiple degrees. And I do encourage education. That's why it's on my platform, including free education for every Liberian through college.
Okay, just in my last point.
Okay, thank you.
He blamed me here for supporting Tiawan Gonglo. But Mr. Jones was supporting Tiawan Gonglo. Mr. Jones was supporting Dr. Gompu. And Mr. Jones is the one who started Dr. Gompu website.
Okay.
And he got all the internal information from Dr. Gompu. I mean, is that the type of president we want for Liberia tomorrow?
Well, I think your information is incorrect and misleading.
Okay, Dr. Gompu is here.
Okay, so I think your question should be, what's my
Alex and Mr. Numbo, we hope that this platform, we have Liberians are listening, and we want to give them the best of information so that they can make an informed decision come 2023.
Right.
There are some issues that you or anyone on this platform could raise. For us here, we are interested in fact-checking and making sure that we feed the people with the best of information. All right?
Can I jump in?
Yeah.
I think I have to.
Just a minute. I'll come right back to you.
I have to respond.
Did you say that Mr. Weah has a master's in health education? Did I understand you?
He has a master's degree from University of Phoenix in health science or something like that. According to him and according to the executive management website.
George Weah went to DeVry University.
Okay, DeVry, some online school, but he has a degree, a U.S. degree
in health education.
He has something in the health area. I can't quote it right now, so you can double check on that. But let me respond. I would like to respond to, because those are serious allegations that he raised. I have to respond to it.
Okay, go ahead. I'll give you 2 minutes on that.
Okay. So you claim that I supported Mr. Tiawan Gonglo. Listen, I'm a Liberian. I want to see Liberia better. I will support anyone who is making an effort to change Liberia for the better, including yourself here, if you were running for office, or Mr. Jensen or Dr. Gompu or anybody else. I don't think that makes me a bad person to exercise my fundamental right as a Liberian citizen, the highest order of the country, to give my support or my opinion or views on any individual, including Dr. Gompu. He and I, our colleagues, I would say, in the finance, economic arena, we have worked together on projects, we've done shows together, we've done educational shows together. So there are a number of times where there's anything confidential that I've used or shared. You are correct. I do have an online business that builds website and other technical area, and he hired me to build a site for his organization. So I mean to come and say that I took information from Dr. Gompu that is completely false and misleading. That's not the case.
Okay. Tito, Alex Jones, we agree with you, Mr. Dr. Gompu. We agree with you. It is a right of every Liberian to associate and disassociate at any time.
Correct.
Now, assuming that something went wrong is also the obligation of any party to pursue a legal action. When it, for example, if for any reason there is an issue of intellectual property, someone, getting information from someone and taking advantage of that against that person has a recourse. But the issue that I want you all to look at today, Liberia, the reason why I asked you guys to mirror the country, how do you see Liberia? For example, we have most of the young people are now taking drugs. And how the drugs being carried in that country is concerning. Let me start with Dr. Gopo. If you were to become president, if Liberians were to consider you to become president, how do you intend to solve the drugs problem, the infiltration of drugs or the trafficking of drugs into Liberia?
Yeah, the trafficking of drugs, illegal drugs is a serious problem. I think it threatens the security of the state. My information tells me that there are over 35,000 young people in the street now, many of them drug addicted. And those people are becoming fathers in the street, and they are causing, a number of them causing so many problems. So clearly that the drug issue is connected also to the lack of opportunity for many of these young people. Some of them need help, some of them need attention, they need mentoring, they need support, they need health services. So basically, the whole drug problem exposes the weakness of the Liberian system. The health service and the health sector need to be restructured in such a way that it can respond to the needs of these young people. The educational system as well can be very helpful in providing some of these young people tools after they're cleaned up so that they can become viable citizens of the country. To develop programs for housing for these people is also related to what's happening at the budget level and what we consider to be our priority. So the approach to fighting drugs, there are so many angles to it. There's the legal side in terms of who's bringing these drugs in. And then there's the health side in terms of the impact these drugs are making on people. There's the educational side. There are just so many different aspects of our system that need to be built in order to attack the drug problem.
Okay.
So it is a priority for me in terms of helping these young people because they represent a significant part of our future.
Okay, thank you so much. Chichu Alex Jones, we want you to address the same issue. The young people of that country, the future leaders of that country, the trafficking of drugs in that country. We have monitored in recent time grand bars of drugs being found there. Maryland County, drugs, Moss Rider County, over 100 million worth of drugs were found in Moss Rider alone. How do you intend to handle that problem if you were ever?
First of all, that's a very important question, and because they're affecting a lot of young people, so it's very dear to my heart. In fact, I'm working with programs on the ground that to help, alleviate some of the problems, counseling, and even passage of law to help provide resources from the budget. The last bill that was worked on was rejected. So we're working again to get that into the budget where a substantial amount of money can be given to these young people, which includes a lot of young women. I strongly believe that the government of Liberia is involved in the drug trafficking trade, West African drug trafficking trade. When you have a government where drugs, cocaine are found in Harper Ocean, and the government is completely silent, and ships are coming into the country that are not docking properly on your network, it will broadcast live, and you hear nothing from the government. Look, we need to stop kidding around in Liberia. George Weah administration, I have the strong conviction, is part of this drug trafficking in Liberia. And that needs to stop. So the way you tackle it first, you got to get rid of this government. You got to get rid of them through the ballot box, and we will. The young people are tired, and I can tell you they will vote against a Weah administration, and they will vote against the political parties in Liberia as they have been doing in the last election. My program calls for a substantial amount of cuts in the pay and compensation of all government officials, accumulating to around 100 to 250 million dollars per year, which means the president, the ministers, and the legislative pay will be drastically cut in my administration. I will sign no bill in Liberia where any public government official is making more than $3,000, including the president. If we will shut the government down, we will shut the government down and we'll take the case to the people. That's what I run it on. That money, because again, as Dr. Gompo said, it's a serious problem, but you cannot solve it with all adequate funding to those people who are affected in terms of rehabilitation, in terms of housing. So everything that these politicians are talking about is lip service. There's not $10 allocated in the budget specifically to fight this issue. And I'm saying part of my cuts will make sure that every young person who are affected by this incident, this epidemic in Liberia, will have the proper medication, the counseling, the housing, the food, so that it can be treated. Other than that, we're just talking lip service, and that does nothing to change. So two remedy: get the government, the political, because the politicians are in the House of Representatives. They've been there for 5 years. They have not signed any bills, and I'm telling you, the alliance and my independent candidate will pass that law within my first few months of office, if possible, the first month of office, or to an executive order.
Well, you said in your comment that the government seems to be involved in drug trafficking. That's a serious allegation.
Yes.
So do you care to make any modification? Or
no, I stand by my statement, and I call upon the House of Representatives to do their job and have a full inquiry and investigation into the ships that went off the port of Harper. I called on the Liberian people to call upon the representatives and senators to have an independent inquiry to investigate the drug trafficking trade in Liberia. As we rightly said, $100 million worth of drug coming into the country. It cannot happen with all the government officials involved or the government itself. It is my conviction, and I would like to chair that independent commission, if possible. Go and find where this drug came from. I will go there and I will chair. And I challenge the government of Liberia and the George Weah administration that to open an investigation into the drug trafficking in Liberia to exonerate themselves. I challenge them.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Nomo.
Yeah. My understanding is that Dr. Gompo is leaving around 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask him.
But let's Dr. Gompo, you still stand by that schedule? Because
yeah, I have to leave no later than 7:15.
Okay.
I wanted him to give us his plan in a nutshell, but education, health, infrastructure, agriculture, and the economy of Liberia. That as a presidential candidate.
Mr. Numo, we wanted to take those things one at a time, and
because
yeah, I get to. I mean, he doesn't have much time.
Yes, Lee. I don't know what I could do that in a comprehensive in that period of time, but education, agriculture, infrastructure development, health are all important parts of my platform. I could give you more detail later. But in education, to start, I think that there is so much reform we need in education. In fact, my foreign policy is going to be linked to education. I believe in knowledge exchange diplomacy. That is the kind of foreign policy I'd like to introduce in Liberia, so that our engagement with the rest of the world will be focused on knowledge exchange. Those nations that have done more in the area of knowledge creation, research, science, and industry, we engage with them in such a way that we exchange knowledge, we're learning from us, and then we also find opportunity to learn from them. So on my platform, I have a global fellowship, global Liberian fellowship for 10,000 Liberian young people to study at outstanding academic centers around the world. So as president, my engagement with any president, that will be at the center. So countries like the United States, Germany, the United Kingdom, all of these people, we're not just going to go out to come and play soccer. We're talking about how many, if you have a better educational system in terms of your science, your technology, your medicine, how many of these fellowships can you contribute to? And we're going to pressure them to create this pool so that Liberians go out and get the education. And my plan is also, I, as Deputy Finance Minister, and Budget Director, was the first Budget Director under whose leadership funding for the establishment of these community colleges, a number of the community colleges in the country, Nimba County, Gong Technical College, Lufa Technical College, those were funded, the origin were funded under my leadership as Deputy Finance Minister and Budget Director.
Okay, Dr. Gombo, we'll come to you, and we have to do justice the fact that you are 2 years. I agree with your time, and we'll do all that we can to get some of the information before you leave. But on the issue of education, Chuchu, let's go this way, right? We have several issues here. Maybe 2 minutes, interval can help us to deal with those concerning issues we have. What do you think about education? What is your educational platform for Liberia?
Well, my education platform, I think, is very simple. We have a lot of Liberians who are well educated, who can give those knowledge and experience to other Liberians in Liberia. I do not believe in the scholarship program. I think it's costly, and I think the amount of money, the ratio of sending 10 students and the amount of money you pay, when we can bring teachers back home, we can bring Liberians with the expertise. Because education is more than just obtaining a degree. Education is practical experience. And the problem in Liberia is we do not have a place where people graduate from the university can go and gain some real work experience.
Will you not support scholarship programs?
I would not support, because I want us to build universities and more universities. And
university built in Liberia, there are community colleges in Liberia.
We're fully equipped. We have universities with all labs. We have textbooks that were used almost a decade ago. That's not a university. In these days, they change these things every quarter.
Okay.
So what I'm saying, someone goes for above 5 years to study, for instance, computer science, right? Mm-hmm. As soon as they come back, that knowledge is almost antiquated. It's almost useless.
But that's a universal thing. We all, like you now, you have high school education, you have college education, you got masters, and so on. I mean, it's not just the issue of the practical side. That's what people have work experience.
Yeah, but we do have colleges in Liberia. What I'm saying is this. Apart from, first of all, I have to have placements for these people who graduate. You cannot be studying engineering at the University of Liberia or Cottington and you've never worked on an engineering project. I have a degree in engineering. Part of obtaining my degree meant I had to go and do project at the city, bridges. So that's a half education when you, or somebody where you tell a person go to school for 4 years when they are not practically involved. These days, you have what you call applied sciences, where if you're studying economics or you're studying finance, you can't be studying finance when you don't even know how to open a brokerage account or how to buy and sell a bonds or difference. So what I'm saying is we're going to focus on funding these universities across the country, moving them from just community college and making them, add upon what Dr. Gompo has done with those universities, put money in it to make them full colleges and bring international and local expertise and teachers so that more people can get the education and not him picking a few people and sending them to China or sending them to America, which most of them they come back.
Okay, we get to Dr. Gompo, we are sorry for the interruption. I know time is, I know your program already. There's a lot of somebody just bounced into me today and told me about your program. I said, oh, wow, we have you on our program. So definitely I know the time is not in your favor. But like Josh, no more questions, the health sector. And let me just ask something. The health sector is a major issue in Liberia.
Right.
You have government officials getting sick, leaving the country. When the poor people get sick, they cannot go to JFK to get medication. They cannot stay in Nima County, no ambulance.
Right.
So how, policy-wise, what do you intend to do to solve the health problem in Liberia, assuming you were to be elected tomorrow?
Well, the health sector, very important, is really the lack of advanced health facility, the lack of strong health facility is serving as a leakage to the Liberian economy, because sick people now, people who can afford it, are leaving for India, they're going to Ghana, other countries are eating our lunch. And so that's not the way to go. For me, in the health sector, education is linked to health. Where do the nurses come from? Where do the doctors come from? How much research is being done in this health center in order to create new means of treatment? So when we improve the educational system, that will have a linkage. In many countries, when education improves, the quality of health also improves, because that's where you are getting your employees for the health centers. See, and one of the challenges in the health sector in Liberia is the equipment issue, the technology issue. So we need to have allocation for the procurement of quality health equipment on a annual basis. If we were to put $3 million into acquisition of health technology, health equipment every year, within 5-year period, we will have put $15 million in and have some of the equipment they need at these health centers. So we need to look at technology. We need to look at investment in health. We need to look at investment in health education. We need to look at regulation, improvement in standard, even health data. We're working right now. I'm working with some computer scientists where we are building databases, and we're looking into the possibility of improving health data. How do we make health policy when we do not have data on what kind of diseases are killing people, in order to rank them so that we can allocate the health budget accordingly? Sometimes if you don't have the data, it's the wrong policy. So there are so many areas there. But one thing that I think would be a kind of innovation that I'm looking into is that at this time, I'm interested in mobile health. And by mobile health centers, I mean to structure the health center in such a way that you bring the facility to the people, rather than waiting for people to get sick before they come.
Dr. Gompo, do you have to be in government before these fine ideas can be implemented, before you can provide some of these services for Liberian? Why didn't you write a project proposal or a concept and then allow the weird government to implement those plans?
Well, good question. The answer is simple. It depends on the scale at which you want to do those things. I've been running an NGO that has worked at a very low scale in my village, in the Campley area, in Saninkole area, helping with education, helping to empower young people. But if you have 500,000 young people across the country, and with my level of skills, and I just can only afford to help the people in my village and only afford to help the people in my district, the impact on the nation is still marginal, and the nation is still very poor and still very desperate. Those children leave those programs, and what happens when they go to other counties? They face the same problem. So you need executive power to allocate our national resources in such ways so as to make significant impact in delivering solutions to these problems. Even Donald Trump, with his billions of dollars, cannot personally, without executive power at the presidential level, solve Liberia's problem. Then what about somebody like me? So again, if you want to solve national problem, you need power at a very high level. I am not just interested in government service or in presidency just for its namesake. When I went to Liberia, I applied and was offered the position of deputy minister. When I went to the Senate, some of the senators looked at my resume and they said, "This job is too small for this man. Are you really sure this man would take this job?"
Which regime was that?
Ellen Johnson Sirleaf regime. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf.
We agree if somebody said you yourself need to be audited by a new government.
Well, I mean, if somebody says that my record is there, I will be that will be fine. I mean, I don't have a problem with audit. George Numbo was at the auditing commission at the time, and his boss was there. I was one of the strong advocates for auditing across government. I didn't have an issue with that. I was very cooperative with the auditing agency. There were, people within my own ministry who pushed back against the whole idea of allowing audits. So I didn't have an issue with it. I have been
before I come to you, Mr. Numbo, just a minute. I will come right back.
I just want to make a short comment.
Yeah.
This Tamba lady from finance ministry who was over revenue and Dr. Gumpu, they were the only two that were working with, cooperating with the GAC from finance ministry. Okay,
we take note of that. Let me come to you, Mr. Chuchu Ellis Jones. Tell us in a nutshell. I'm looking at two things here. Dr. Gumpu going to leave you here on the show, right? So most of your comments, he wouldn't be here to respond to that. So I'm also playing, in my mind.
No, that's understandable.
Okay. So before he leaves,
right,
and before you address the issue of health,
right,
will you be willing, despite all of what we have heard, to work with Dr. Gumpu?
Well, absolutely. So long as the person is running as an independent candidate, I've created what you call the Liberian Independent Candidate Alliance. And that is working with people at the local level in terms of the representatives and the senator, because our goal is not just a Chuchu Jones presidency. It's to change and reform the whole system. It's rotten. So if Dr. Gumpu is independent, then I'm willing to work with him. If any, with all independent candidates.
We will come to you, but Dr. Gumpu has 3 minutes on the show.
Okay.
That's a serious program. So Dr. Gumpu want to give you the rest of the time.
And besides, I must say, I've worked with him, and he's a very fine economist. And that job they gave me was a little job, and I have a bigger job for him because I want him to run the Central Bank of Liberia.
Okay. Dr. Gumpu, Chuchu Ellis Jones, assuming president of Liberia, say he wants you to take over the central bank, but I gave you the rest of the time. I mean, that is 7:13 from my end here.
Yeah, so thank you very much. Let me just also clarify that I have not indicated that I'll run as an independent candidate. I have not indicated that.
Okay.
I think that's an assumption.
Right.
So
which political party? Why you continue? Which political party you you targeting?
Well, we're looking at various options. There are so many political parties that do not have standard bearers, and some of them have spoken to me.
Do you have a political party? Are you a member of any political party in Liberia?
Let me get back to you on that.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me get back to you on that.
So you can address the other questions that Mr. Numo asked you. We want to know about the health sector. I mean, look at Liberia. Even it show, I call it the NASCO, National Social Security Scheme. That's a problem in Liberia. So how do you hope? I mean, just close your eyes, look at Liberia and tell us why. I mean, sorry, we don't have much time for you. Just give us some comment, before you leave.
Yeah, basically, I said that Liberia has so many challenges in so many different sectors. But we need resources. We need to unite the nation so that we can go after the bad guys.
Okay.
And in order to do that, we need a strong, vibrant economy. My dream is to serve and to open various industries in Liberia in such a way that we quadruple Liberia's current GDP to get it up to $12 billion in a short period of time. And that would take opening up so many different sectors, including our blue economy, including our furniture manufacturing. We are in conversations now with some manufacturers here to see if we can think about a 21st century kind of relationship where we begin to think about joint venture operation that will leave more of the asset and more of the profits created by foreign corporation in Liberia for reinvestment in the society. So in health, we have a number of different ideas. As I said, mobile health, so that we do preventive medicine rather than waiting until people get sick because they're so far away from the hospital. So there are ways to do that. We have looked at best practices in some other places, and we can be creative in bringing health facility to the people, bringing the doctors to the people rather than, sitting in Monrovia or sitting in Phoebe. They will still be there, but we need to add to that. We need to do better in our data collection and in our health policy. We need to be more innovative. And that goes hand in hand with education and also with some innovations in foreign policy. Generally,
your time is almost here.
We cannot do much if our economy is not rebuilt. We got to rebuild the economy. We need strong leaders who understand the economy and can really come in from day one, ready to bring solutions. And so thank you so much for the.
But before you leave, there's one, just in 1 minute, war crime code. What is your take on that?
Well, I think the issue of the war crime code is overly politicized, and I do not think that the war crime code issue is something that has to do with the judiciary. I don't think it should be really politicized, because when I look at the landscape in Liberia, there is broad division on the issue of the court, the war crime court, how it should be conducted.
Do you agree for the establishment of a war crime court?
Well, basically, as president, I will enforce the law. Whatever Liberians decide through the appropriate institution that the law is, as president, I take an oath of office to enforce the laws of Liberia. I do not want to politicize the issue of the war crime court, because I think the society is divided on this. When you take one position or the other, it leads to alienation. If you say, yes, I'm in favor of the war crime court, then
somebody listening to you would think because someone like Prince Johnson from Nima County and you from Nima County, that's an issue. You don't want to be very clear on the record to say where you're taking this line. So
no, even if I was from Grand Bassa or any other country or any other county, we've seen politicians play games with Liberian people. They come and say what people want to hear, and then they can't deliver.
Okay.
I believe that this particular issue has to do with issues of justice.
Okay.
And it is not something that should be a political issue. It's really about healing this nation and making this nation to move away from the war and consequences of the war in order to move forward. So I really would think that we should focus on how to address the pains and the struggles of this country, and not criticize this issue about war crime court or no war crime court. I think we should leave this issue to the justice system.
Okay. I want to say thank you so much for honoring our invitation, and we hope that your program that is scheduled be blessed with, maybe you can get some $1 million from that program today. Thank you so much, and it was a pleasure to have you. We hope to have you again, where we have sufficient time to ask you more important questions for Liberians who want to be informed.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Gompo.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay then. Thank you so much. We will get him back. I'm sure the manager will contact you and maybe make some other arrangement to see how you can appear. Maybe one-on-one.
Thank you so much.
More. Yeah. Okay, that was Dr. Gompo, who wants to be president. He's from Nima County. Now we are left with Mr. Chuchu Alex Jones. Alex, I really love your name, and a young man who wants to be president of Liberia.
But Jensen,
Yeah.
can you check with Patience to see, where Ben is?
Okay. No, she's monitoring. She's definitely going to contact her. I will text her.
Oh, okay.
Because we don't want to get our audience.
All the pepper we have, we don't want to.
So Alex,
give it to Alex.
Alex, how do you hope to deal with the agricultural sector of Liberia?
Well, the first thing, I think my plan is very comprehensive. Look, I think Liberia is blessed to have people like me, young people who want to serve the country, who can be working in corporate America, who could abandon the country like Cummings did for 40 years, but decided at a young age to come to be part of the solution. I put up an extensive project proposal to the Liberian people that within 5 years' time, Liberia would be considered the Switzerland of West Africa. And I made that literally. Okay. And part of that plan, again, it starts from carrying on cuts in the government. There's no way you can do it without having cuts. Everybody in this race is just talking politics and things that don't voodoo economics. You have a system here where, if you look at the budget, just roughly, if you have a $400 million revenue and you have a $500 million expense, there's no way you can provide education, you can pay people on time, you can do all these wonderful things that people talk about. The only way to do that, there are two ways. You can either increase your revenue, or you can reduce your expenditure. So this deficit thing has been running from history, all right? The history of all Liberian politicians, where they come in with all these ideas and they can't do it at the end of the day. Because why? They do not have the guts to take the tough decisions to balance our budget, which means we will have an income that is commensurate with our expenditure. I do.
Okay.
And that's when, once you've done that, you will not have the necessary resources to invest. You can't invest when you can't even pay your bills. So that's the heart of it. You will not hear it from any one of the politicians or any one of the aspirants, because they don't want the Liberian people to know that. They want to tell the Liberian people we can pay senators and representatives $15,000 a month or $60 million every year, and we can still have enough money to go do education and do healthcare because they don't want to offend people. They don't love Liberia, because the truth is Liberia expenditure, especially the government wage bill at the top level, is way too high. Liberia presidents make more money than Nigerian president, than Senegal president, than Sierra Leone president. By far, the chief justice in Liberia make more money than the chief justice in the United States. Does that make any sense? And I can challenge this. It's on the budget. It's in the budget.
Okay, so the issue that we wanted to be specific about is the agricultural sector. How do you hope to address that? Do you hope to, now let me just say, what is the policy on education, on agriculture? How do you hope to handle this matter so that Liberia can be sufficient in food production to feed herself?
Set up industry. One of the industries you want to make sure that's open is the agriculture bank, which was defunded by the early administration. You can't have agriculture without an agriculture bank. End of story, full stop. Okay? If you want to have mechanized farming in Liberia, then you have to put the investment into the financial side of it and have the agriculture bank branch in all of the counties. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open an agriculture bank in all of the with divisions in all of the county that is going to start investing in different produce in different parts of the country. And I'm going to make it private. We're going to provide the funding through the central bank. And every Liberian now, every small farm, part of that bank as a business. Agriculture has to be profitable. Same thing with healthcare. I want to privatize the JFK and the many of the health sector. We'll turn it over to Liberians and a consortium of Liberians. We will provide the finances. I will take it from those costs. They will put in some money and they will bring the expertise and they will run it, and everybody will have healthcare insurance. And that way, everybody can go to wherever hospital you want to go to. But you just mentioned you have a system where legislator, minister of health, when they're sick, they go to Ghana and come to America. When the president's sick, the finance minister. Why? Because they don't have a skin in the game.
Okay, Mr. Numo, do you have any concern for Mr. Jones?
Well, I still want for Mr. Jones to go back to the question I asked him before about his educational background. He said he is a civil engineer.
No, I said I studied engineering.
Oh, you studied it, but you didn't graduate.
I have an associate's degree in civil engineering, which
From
is
where?
From Columbus State Community College.
Where is it?
Columbus, Ohio.
Columbus.
Okay.
Okay. But here, he said after studying engineering, business, and finance, and earning dual bachelors.
Correct.
From Franklin University in Columbus, Ohio.
Correct. That is.
So, what is the engineering degree you earn from? Franklin University.
Like I said, it's an Associate of Science in Civil Engineering.
Franklin University does not offer engineering.
Oh, sorry. From Franklin University, I earned a Bachelor's of Science in Finance.
This is about the author article you wrote in the front page.
Yeah.
Front page Liberia.
Yes.
And you say you got bachelor's in engineering from Franklin University.
No, if that's the case, then that's incorrect. It's inaccurate, and I don't think that's
so you are right to run this here.
Yeah, we can do it.
Okay. He said
no.
See, that's not what I have.
I'm talking about something that is in black and white.
Listen to me. When you send an article to Front Page Africa, they are prone to sometimes making an error on your education because they edit it. So I can tell you that there's nothing, untoward about my credential because I've written many other articles, and they will tell you I have 2 bachelor's degrees.
Okay.
We will, as I said,
no. Jesse, I'm not done with it. He said claiming that he has 2 bachelor degrees.
Yeah,
and he said he has associate in engineering.
Correct.
And he changing the associate to bachelor degree.
Hello, Mr. Numo.
Yes.
We will take note of some of these issues.
No, we'll show you all.
The more important
be after the fact.
He's not interested in national issues.
Hello, Mr. Numo. Mr. Numo, we take note of all of your inquiry, and of course, I do not think that the presidential aspirants put out information that will not be correct.
Okay.
Right? Because these are issues that Liberian will go all out for. So issues of clarity, assuming that the article that is written has information on it that Mr. Chuchu is saying that it's not correct, I'm sure you will have to reach out to Front Page so that he can make that correction. Other than that,
are you saying that they about him that he submitted to Front Page Africa, some Front Page Africa changed it?
Possible.
What I'm saying to you, it's very likely, listen to me, it's very likely that Front Page is listening.
They made a mistake. It's an honest error.
No. My statement is, it's very likely that Front Page is listening, or someone who is close to Front Page is listening.
Okay.
They will take that article into serious consideration, very likely. But we cannot waste our time here now on that article, right? Myself, I will want to read the article, but I can't do that right now. So let's continue with our questioning, and then later on we can probably find a time and ask Mr. Chuchu, maybe, if necessary, maybe he himself can make some clarification.
Okay.
And number two is, he said that he wrote an article in the Perspective. What is the title of that article?
Well, I've written several articles that have been disseminated around. I said probably. Yes.
Oh, okay.
I've written.
All right. Let's go back to Liberia. Let's go back to Liberia. Let's go back to Liberia, folks. I am concerned about Liberia. There are a lot of children who are supposed to be in school are not in school. They have bitter balls or fried fish or some other stuff on their head and have to sell for survival. The state of affairs in the country is our concern. The reason why we are conducting these shows and want to hear from those who want to be president, it is out of my hope that anyone who wants to be president will start to provide false information to the public. So the issues here, we're talking about drugs, trafficking, talking about health, talking about education, talking about social security for Liberia, for Liberians. These are our concerns. Now, Mr. Chuchu, let me ask you about the issue of agriculture. You say you're going to have agricultural bank. You are on record to say that. And the second issue that I have to that is Lofa County, one of those counties that is known for producing rice. I'm looking at mechanized farming. How do you intend to change that? You as president, sitting president, how? There must be, and I told somebody, I said there's a need for a policy development in the sector of education, health, social welfare, and medical in general. So for you, what is your plan? Do you have any plan holistically to look at Liberia and say, well, this is what I would drive Liberian to?
Yes, I do. In fact, I'm the only person in this race that have written my plans out, that have set up a think tank to solve Liberian problems in health, education, agriculture. Dr. Gompu, I have teamed up with to come up with some of these policies on different, in terms of how we can grow our economy. We have sat on different panels together. I'm the only candidate who've done that. So, Mr. Nimpoye, I think you're making me more popular, because if I've written papers in almost every major articles, and that's where you want to kind of talk about my credentials, then, I think, thank you for the popularity, so people can go.
Mr. President, you waiting. I'm not.
Let me finish. Let me just finish. Yeah. So thank you very much, because I write these articles after extensive research, and I publish them. And it's unfortunate that journalists don't even go and read it to ask specific questions. All the questions you're asking for, how can we make Liberia self-sufficient? Those questions have been answered. That's why I published my views about that.
How you can give us a summary. You can give us a summary of some of those articles. Let us see the article.
You call it excessive pay, saving a substantial amount of money which will be invested in different sectors. You cannot look at the agriculture sector as a silo. If you're having an agriculture sector, you got to have a financial sector that goes hand in hand with it. You got to have other industrial sectors that will support those farms. So part of the reason in Liberia why we've been producing rice, you said bread basket and all that kind of stuff, but it's not working, is because you need you need a comprehensive support in order to make it successful. You need housing. If you're going to get our agriculture expert to come to Lofa County to process food and do research, okay, with the different rice and the types, cocoa, coffee, and things like that, you got to have internet service. You got to have access, housing. You got to open those mini airports so that people can fly in and out. My plan address all of those things. It can be done in 3 to 4 years. I have a 5-year plan for Liberia. Then I'm going to make sure that we have a clear, good transition to my vice president. And I'm done. I'll go into the private sector to do it.
Okay.
That sounds good. Mr. Numa, before you come in, you ask foreign policy issue. Just think 2 questions. Time is fast spent. All right. The president of the United States is having a U.S. African summit where about 49 African heads are supposed to meet him in discussing the issue of Africa. Assuming that you were president and you're supposed to attend that summit, and now you are also a major partner, or you have a standing foreign policy with China, what will be your message when you attend such a summit?
Well, my message should be very clear that Liberia will work in the interest, in the national interest. We will partner with the United States in the West, but we'll also open our options open. As a businessman, as a banker, you want to find the best rates. You want to find the best opportunities. So my message to Mr. Joe Biden is to, or whoever is the president at that time, would be that we want to be partners and we are looking for the best alternative for Liberia. We're not going to go to conference anymore to occupy space as president of Liberia. I'm not going to be in Liberia as a puppet president, wherever we're going to do things that are not in the interest of Liberian people. We've been going to these summits for many, many years. We've been to all the conferences in the world. Yet our per capita income is still 600. Our GDP is still 3 billion when you got Somalia 7 billion. So we need a more robust economic and foreign relation policy. And if that includes working with Indonesia or working with Europe or other African countries, then that's what we're going to do to grow our economy and to feed our people, to become self-sufficient, to set up industry. We're not going to be an importing country anymore. I tell you that under my administration. We are going to.
It means even if you will disregard the traditional foreign policy of Liberia, meaning Liberia standing with the United States, you would do that because of your economic policy.
Well, what does that mean, standing with the United States? Should we stand with the United States against our own national interests? Against our own economic interests? That doesn't make any sense. We are partners of the United States. We have a great heritage. But the president of Liberia is to provide the best alternative and the best negotiation with other nations for my country. I'm sure that's what the American president will be doing from his angle, and to ask us to say we should stand with you regardless if it benefits us or not, that doesn't make any sense. I don't think any United States president expect any level-headed African or Liberian president to do that. But they are afraid.
Let me be low practical. Here is the United States. Here is China.
Mm-hmm.
America is giving you, let's say they put about $50 million upfront for Liberia.
Mm-hmm.
Here is China. She put upfront $100 million United States dollar. Foreign policy, what? Where do you stand?
Well, first of all, it depends on what the interest rate, what are the conditions. So if you're getting $100 million from China at a 15% interest rate, then it doesn't make any sense. So again, and that's why I keep telling Liberian people, I'm the best person to be president, not because I want to, but I have those kinds of skills. Working as a banker and working as a businessman and working on Wall Street, that have given me years of experience in financial negotiation. So first of all, why do we need $100 million from China or America? In my opinion, at this time, we're done. Are we going to get $100 million to come and pay Yeka Kolopa and pay Edwin Snow and pay? No, we don't need it. We have money into the budget. It's just being misallocated. If we take that money, because in economics, there's no free lunch. If America gives you $50 million, there's some attachment to it. So my job is not to go around like Ellen did and accumulate over $800 million in 3 years' time after the debt was waived. And George Riaki added another $700 million, where now we got $1.6 billion, which we have to pay interest on every year. My thing is to reduce that debt. And the way I'm saying we should reduce the debt is we cut our expenses. I will cut mine, cut the legislator, cut every branch of government. That's the budget I'm going to put forward. And the excess in those cuts is what I'm going to use for agriculture throughout the country, healthcare. I'm also going to prioritize many of these failing industries, you got things like I said, JFK. It's a death trap.
How do you cut the legislator's salary when you do not have the power to make laws? You only make a proposal, and it is only the legislators who are supposed to pass a legislation.
A massive public campaign against them, an embarrassment, and sending a budget there with my proposed budget that makes sense, and then going on a road to the Liberian people and telling them that these people, they're not signing the budget because they want $15,000 a month.
Probably they may want to impeach you for that on the basis of that. Find a low loophole.
Yeah. Then I will go down as a guy who stood up for the right thing, and that's what you need in Liberia.
Okay.
We got people there who don't have any backbones. So nowhere in Liberian history where we have a president that stood up for the people. Our constitution says that we should stand up for the well-being of every Liberian citizen, Mr. Nipo. So forget about that.
Yeah,
I agree with you, Mr. Numbo.
Yes.
Any question for time is fast spent.
Mr. You got no more question for me. I promise you that.
Well, I feel that when anybody comes on this platform,
Yes.
or anybody is coming,
Right.
we have to do our homework.
Okay.
I agree.
Instead of saying, "Oh, we'll do fact checking or after the fact."
No, the reason why.
No. Let me learn. I'm putting a blame. I will for, but I have to learn.
Okay, learn. All right.
I have to learn.
Okay, go ahead.
This guy gave wrong information. It is his own writing about him.
Okay.
Claiming that he got engineering bachelor degree from a school that does not offer bachelor degree.
Okay.
Okay.
And yet, I hope Martin Colley is not listening. And these are the caliber of people who want to be president of Liberia?
Mr. Numbo.
No.
Okay, listen, Mr. Numbo. I get your point, right? We cannot sit on this platform. There are people who are listening, right? And we want to tailor the discussion so that they can benefit. Now, you raised an issue against Chuchu Ellis Jones.
Yes.
Chuchu also said that likely front page make a mistake on his credentials.
They've done it before.
Those are out there. This is a recording. This is a recorded show. So do we still go about arguing or wanting to seek clarification and keep discussing? In my view, we're wasting people's time. And that's
well, the way
so say we should have done our research. The reason why you came on this show as a co-host. Now, I would say that was a good question, right? So I can't just wait. We can't waste 30 minutes on that, like what we're doing right now.
Okay.
Liberians don't have interest in that. Liberians have.
I don't think so.
No, listen to me, Mr. Numbo.
Resign.
Mr. Numbo.
Liberia has interest in
Mr.
that.
Numbo, listen to me. Chuchu has said this. You raised an issue. Chuchu has said a lot about that. You think I do not have interest in the issue you people raised? I do. But do I keep the show now on that issue? No, I can't. And I'm not sure any Liberian will want to say, well, let's just keep discussing that. We're getting people making comments. Right?
They probably
have no more comments.
Does not have any questions for me.
All right.
I've answered all the questions. I'm better than most of the people he's supported or will be supporting in terms of policy. And so he got to find something. So you're getting.
I don't know anybody that I'm supporting or I supported that you better off.
Okay, who do you support? Then who do you support? Who have you supported?
Okay, we're going to control the show. We are controlling the show. We're going to control the show.
Right, this is a round table.
Yeah, it's round table. I agree. At the same time, we now want this to be a situation of, you know, I don't want to use the word chaos, right? Yeah. But we hope that there are issues. I said fact-checking because I believe in that. After this, I'm going to read the articles and then maybe I make other comment, or we might just have another discussion about this. But the issue for us, we wanted you to tell us your platform. What do you intend to do for Liberia? And out of those issues, we ask you questions: the welfare of Liberian people. How do you look at the economy? How do you look at agriculture? Social welfare. Liberians are dying without any social security benefit, right? Yet you have NASCO in that country. So when we discuss those things, I think Liberia will be interested because someone who's working for government is going to age out someday and will need to have some kind of benefit to rely on. I have someone who told me, guess what? They're paying that lady who worked almost the rest of her whole life $10 United States monthly. That makes no sense to anybody. Looking at even the prevailing economic situation. Now, we get people like you, we want to know, how do you hope to solve some of these problems? So when you speak, they're listening. Now, let's close out this program. I know time is fast spent. We've gone more than an hour. But before we close, I'll give you the opportunity, Tutu, to tell Liberians once again. How do you govern Liberia? Like, I mean, how do you hope to govern Liberia? You brought about legislators. We know there's always a struggle between the legislature and the executive. You say you could probably mobilize the citizens against the legislators. So I see your government in some form, like maybe probably be chaotic. At the end of the day, there might be some impeachment proceeding, thus stopping all of the progress that probably is supposed to make.
Well, I think Obama administration, you're describing some of the things that happened in Obama administration that wanted to bring universal health care to America. And there are people in Liberia who don't want change.
Okay.
There are people in Liberia who just want their friends and to get in the government to make a lot of money. So anybody who comes with any good idea to help the country and move the country forward, they will pick an issue with it. That is not unusual. These are the political people that destroy countries. So that's not going to deter me. It didn't deter Obama, and he was able to win 2 terms as president. And why would it deter me? We already know these political people. We already know what their intentions are. They are there to support the old regime, the old hegemony in Liberia that did nothing for us. All the systems you're talking about are broken in Liberia. There's this generation that caused it. Okay, I wasn't there. I didn't participate in it. I'm only trying to help the Liberian people to help themselves. And I think it's a disservice to any Liberians who would take our effort that we could be doing something by ourselves and be selfish and be greedy and be corrupt to come to try to change our country. Okay,
Chuchu, we will take your last comment, but in your last comment, we want to address the issue of war crime court. Will you support war crime court in Liberia?
Actually, I've supported it. I work with Imaiwa Service, which I think is a fine gentleman who have been fighting for war crimes court in Liberia. I campaigned with him. I won a program with him. So again, it's not a question of lip service. Many of our people today will just talk, but they have no action. I've written articles in that regard. I do support the full implementation of the Truth and Reconciliation recommendations. I have, I'm on the record for it. And I will implement it. The only thing I said is the caveat here is that it cannot be a witch hunt. I'm not going to go after Prince Johnson and not go after Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. When the two are mentioned in the War and Economic Crimes Code recommendation, I'm going to be impartial. So that's my take on it. If Liberian people want it, I want it. I'm a victim of it. I lost my father in the war. Why wouldn't I want it? Besides that, there's a lot of people who are rich in Liberia off of the expense of the war. Ben Nayure is one of them. He should pay restitution. He should be barred from coming into government. So I want it as much as not as a means to punish people, to deter people in the future from doing these things. You have the Louis Browns today in Liberia. If the War and Economic Code recommendation has been carried out, you won't have the problems you're having today with people like Louis Brown and what his name, Toka McIntosh, which were all child state or Hindi men. So we have serious problem in that country. And like I say, I have a career, Mr. Nebo. I'm educated. I have an extensive background in banking and finance. I can work at any bank in the world. I've worked for the finest institutions in the world. They call me every day. And to take my time to go and say, let me bring a different dynamic and bring solutions and write and take my time and write on solutions, not just the problem, you should be applauding me. You should be supporting me. But unfortunately, you're not, because maybe I'm not from your generation. So it's not about the ideas. It's not about who you are. Our constitution talk about we should be a society that is impartial and not tribalistic and not sectionalized.
Okay.
All the time we go on party, who we know, who our friends are, and our friends come to screw things up for all of us. I'm willing to work with everybody. I'm willing to call you and say, help me. You're a fine journalist. You like doing research. Let's work together. I'm willing to work with Gonglo. Gonglo will never support a man like me because he feels he's more superior than I am, because maybe I'm not for his era. But when Gonglo announced his campaign, I gather young people to. So that's it. It's a little disingenuous why we shoot ourselves in the foot, because we so sectionalized. If I'm willing to work with you, why can't you work with me? If the young people have sat all this time in Liberia and the old people can't solve the problem, and there are young people who are coming with better solutions, why can't they, for once in our history, say, let's give a young person a chance? George Weah is not a young person we're talking about, because George Weah is one inexperienced, one educated. Okay, getting a degree does not mean education. George Weah never published anything. George Weah never came and have an idea on banking or on agriculture or anything. So I'm not talking about our young generation. I'm talking about competent, qualified, and experienced young Liberians, like somebody like Jason, somebody like myself, who love our country. We want our future. You guys' future, you live your future. You had the best times in Liberia.
Okay, Tuju, thank you so much. But let me make this point clearer. Why we support, I personally want to see a new breed of leadership in Liberia. In the same vein, when there are questionable issues coming up, it warrants clarification, so that, because Liberia has come a long way with a lot of problems. So when there are questionable issues, we can't waste our time on the show discussing those things. And I do not think Mr. Numbo also want to target you because you are not of his generation. So those issues, when they come out, let us assume,
I will address that.
Let us assume that this is an issue, the front page, making some error with your article. Or let us assume it was even your own error. It doesn't matter.
Error. Even if I did error, and I'm telling you.
So what I'm saying, Chuchu, is that
what's the
young man? But when information is out there, if I'm reading any information about you, and there's any doubt, I will either ask you, or if it's a public information and I want to address it publicly, I will probably, not just you, but all other persons who come in the race. So I think we should take all of this things out of good discussion. Liberians want the best.
Correct.
Fine. Well, because we want the best, let's put out and get the best.
This is slandering somebody intentions. I write all the time. I make mistakes myself.
Okay.
If you call me and say, "Oh, clarify," and I didn't clarify, and you went on and found it to be incorrect, then you have a point as a journalist.
Okay.
Clearly clarify. You wanted to know my academic. I clarify it, and I'm telling you, if it is that way, it's either a mistake from front page because they have to edit papers to put up,
Right.
or it could have been my mistake. And if it's my mistake, I take responsibility to it. I have to degree and oppose a baccalaureate degree.
Okay, I agree. And so time is fast spent. We want to get your closing comment, and then
I like the discussion again. As a leader, you have to confront, you have to fight many battles, and I'm ready to fight those battles for the Liberian people, especially the young people. It does not deter me; in fact, it invigorates me. So this is not going to be an easy trip because Liberians are hardened. They are used to one way. They're used to one set of people, and in order for us to do that, we should have to be better. We have to be more understanding. And that's why I come on these shows. I think I appear on many shows than any other candidate. As a matter of fact, I take the invitation not because I don't have time. I have all the time in my schedule, but I take it because I want Liberians to get to know me, and I like Mr. Nimbo, and I will work with him whether he likes me or not. And we'll clarify that. I should even send him my CV so he can spend the rest of the evening reading it and be high impressed. But it's a good show. I like the station. Many of our media, they do not welcome anybody new into the race. They do not support any new ideas, and so I like it. And I like for us to have a heated, conversation respectfully. What I don't like is the slander. I publish a lot of things against other candidates, but not one time anyone has challenged one line of what I've said about Gonglo, Boyka, or anybody since I've been writing in the history of Liberia. So I don't lie on anybody. I don't make any misleading comments of anyone. So when I say, I'm open to that, but do not make any misleading comments about me, or I will fight you back. Understand that?
Okay, get you. Mr. Numo.
Yeah.
I want you to give us a closing comment. We have about 4 more minutes left.
Well, it's good to be here, but I want to make it clear to Mr. Jones, I'm not tribalistic. He accused me the other day of supporting Boakai and Gonglo. I'm not from Lofa. I'm not from Nimba. I'm from Maryland County. And he has provided misinformation. The information, I confronted him the other day when he said, if father were from Togo or from Senegal. Mm-hmm. This is in his article, in his own writing. Mm-hmm. And he has not told us when he has become a citizen of Liberia. So I am begging you, Jensen, if you are bringing people here on the platform, you should do research.
Okay.
And then don't allow the people to come and somebody who does the research, you want to provide no censorship. That is not good journalism.
Okay,
this man falsify his document.
Mr. Nomo, let me call
college degrees. He doesn't have the degrees he say he has.
Okay.
It's a scam. So that is my closing statement.
Okay. And many other persons, there are a lot of talk shows around. Mm-hmm. We do not intend to be confrontational on two-way radio.
Okay.
We believe in hearing the facts. Mm-hmm. We believe in individuals coming here will defend their own records. Mm-hmm. Now, you have raised an issue that in my mind, we can sit here and reach a conclusion. Our guest, Chuchu Alex Jones, has heard and has responded. Now, the show is not going to end here. There are a lot of people who are listening. People are making comments. and we continue to follow these comments. But as a talk show host, no talk show host will want to dig into one thing continuously. What you have said is on record, that Mr. Chuchu has published an article and he placed on that article information. So those are factual things you are talking about. It is written. You said front page. How sure are you now that I should say, even I haven't read the article, right?
I haven't seen the article. He talked about really many articles.
You have raised an issue, which is good. Probably, you not being here, we probably wouldn't have heard this issue, right? But then we take that as it is and move forward with the discussion, because we do not want to interrupt our plan for this discussion.
If I can just make one more comment.
Whatever the situation is, we take your comment.
Yeah.
And,
I can just make one more comment. And like I said, Mr. Nubo, I think, is being very unprofessional.
So we take those
and no, let me just say this in response to what he said, because he's making serious allegations and calling me a scam. That's a very that is a character slander which I can sue for.
Okay.
And I will not sit here and be disrespected and be called a criminal when I'm writing and doing my best for Liberian people.
You call me a tribalistic person, right?
No, I said
you said my time has gone.
Listen, I did not say you. I did not say you. I never call your name and say you're tribalistic. I don't know you.
Okay, Mr. Numo and Chuchu, we want to.
Yeah, but let me
thank you so much for appearing. It was a nice time having you.
Saying you don't need somebody who will come on your air as a host who's supposed to be neutral.
We want to say thanks to.
Finn is trying to defend simply because he has political allegiances to other candidates, and then he comes here and pretends that he's neutral. I asked him what political party he allowed.
Chuchu, we will have a discussion with you guys after the show.
Yeah, I hope you.
Thank you so much. Until next time, this is the African Action Network radio and television station. Have a pleasant and a wonderful day.
All right.